AM 1430 KRGI 105.5 FM. Good morning. I'm Brian Gallagher. This is Community Connection. It's brought to you by Cornhusker Toyota Honda, Nebraska's only combined Toyota Honda dealership. Thursdays, we turn our focus to education. Today, the guy that keeps it all in one big piece, moving the right way, Matt Fisher, Interim Superintendent of Schools for Grand Isle Public. Welcome back.
Morning, Brian.
Got his purple on today, so he's ready to go. Make sure he dressed up for the radio.
Yeah, well, I didn't really dress for the radio, but we do have our Academy celebration here at 11 this morning. So I thought I probably ought to wear some purple for that.
Well, you did well. We're going to talk about some of the changes that have come in the central office for Grand Isle Public Schools. And as we've previewed or prepared for this, you look back and see some things that have changed. And let's face it, we've been around this a long time. You've come back now as the interim here, but you were witness to a lot of these changes over time in your previous role with Northwest, even in your interim role, being involved in a subsidiary or however you want to describe that other path. But things have changed. There's been some changes announced. And some of this was just predicated on the needs of the day, but also the needs of the school district. So let's kind of clear up some of this because I know there are some lingering questions.
Sure. We have had a pretty substantial shift in roles for people at the central office for the district. And it really all kind of started back when Dan Phillips, who'd been kind of heading up the academy process for our high schools, made the decision that he was going to take a similar position for the Nashville schools, and so had a great opportunity for him to move into a substantially larger district and have some great things for him to work through in terms of that academy structure. And so as he left, we started looking at people and really talking about, well, what are the things that we want to get out of his replacement? And one of the things that we identified early on was, maybe we had a need to restructure a little bit and have somebody that was more having oversight of the secondary education, the high school and the middle school, and then be able to allow Dr. Tony Palmer, who'd been overseeing everything, more of a chance to focus on the elementary programs. So we started down that path, and then along the way, Dr. Robin Dexter, who's been with the district lots of years, Tony and Robin both have been longtime people at our central office. Robin said, well, this is going to be my last year coming up, and so if it makes sense, I would be willing to step into that role of leading our secondary education, and then we could hire someone to move into that associate superintendent role, and then I could work with them to help through that transition. So that made a lot of sense, so we started looking for that person. We were able to hire Dr. Summer Stevens, who is currently a superintendent out in Nevada, but has Nebraska roots, grew up in Nebraska, was at the Beatrice schools for a long time as a curriculum director there, and then was a superintendent in Wyoming, and then out in Nevada. And so we were able to hire her to come into that role. So during that same time, then we started having other people have some opportunities. Ashley Tomjack, who'd been kind of a leader in our curriculum group, took the superintendent's job over at Centura. And then Brittany Bills, who kind of led our English language arts curriculum area, accepted a principal position in Blair. And then Anya Covarrubias decided she was going to go to a full-time consulting position. So we had some people vacate those roles. And so as we really looked at, as you alluded to, Brian, our finances and the changing environment around hiring people and financing the positions, we decided if we can be more efficient and not replace some of those people, then this was an opportunity for us to move towards efficiency.
Efficiency is something I think every organization wants. They want to try to, satisfy the needs of the employees, but also have them expand their horizons to allow them to grow. Sometimes that growth leads to other changes, but that's inevitably the world of business and education. But the other thing that I think happens too is when people get out and see these things, they realize that they're suited for this, but maybe not suited for that. And the supervisors recognize that too. So as you get all of these pieces, you get these things going. And then the biggest thing that came through this whole transition, besides the pandemic, was the transformation to the academy system.
Right.
So as that eventually got there, here's all of these moving pieces, all of these new roles or responsibilities complicated by the pandemic, and then reports come out about effects on education and so on. So you try to work through that. I think Grand Island has continued to be a model overall for what schools are trying to do through those tests or trying to expand their horizons. But yet, there's just the lifelong things of, folks are going to retire. There are those who are going to seek other opportunities, whether it's a family need or just that pursuit of their dream. And so through all of these changes, and then you still try to be efficient, that's a challenge.
Yeah, it is. Certainly is. So yeah, that's. I think those are really good points. I do think that when you bring all those things together, the pandemic and at the same time starting into that academy structure, I think that that created a lot of moving parts that really needed to settle into position to really know what works, what doesn't work. And I think that's really where we're at right now, is I think we're really evaluating what's working well, what things can we be better at, and how can we be more efficient in that structure. And obviously, as we look at our finances, we know that we need to streamline some of our operations so that, really we can afford to continue to operate. So we've really kind of moved a focus around that a little bit. How can we be more efficient? And obviously these moves in the central office were a start down that road.
Then the other factor that will kick in, may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but it's coming soon, is that Grand Island's still growing. And so as that happens, as the population grows, needs grow. Need I say more?
Yeah. So it absolutely, so not only do we have to figure out how to best staff and operate the current programs and buildings that we have, we also have to be thinking about, well, as Grand Island grows, what do we need to add? Are we going to need to add another elementary building somewhere? Are we going to have to expand our middle school? Because middle school right now actually is where we have the least capacity. So we're also having those discussions and thinking about, well, how do we do that? And of course, then you also have to think about, how do we pay for that?
Yeah, I rest my case. Well, it sounds like there's plenty of discussion material going on. Do you like what you've seen so far, though, in regards to the changes that are made or the changes that are in the works?
Yeah, I think we're moving in a good direction. I really do. I think, as I said before, I think we're kind of at that point where we've operated in the academy system for about 5 years now. So we've got a chance to really look at, okay, what's working well here, and what do we need to tweak? And so I think that's a good place for us to be right now. And then I think the whole idea of planning ahead for where is that growth going to take place, I think that we're in a good place there. We've had good discussions around that. So yes, overall I think we're in a good place, and I think we're moving in a good direction.
Well, I think we'll just let that one sit right there for now and wait for the update. But there's always something. And behind the scenes, of course, a lot of the work that's going on right now to get things prepared for the new school year. And we're just, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, or whatever it is?
About that, yeah.
So the cycle continues. And,
Yeah.
we'll be back at it again to see what the next